I've just had an interesting experience with a race map on this bike. I've had lots of reports about how the race map tends to smooth things out on these bikes. And for those of you that know anything about the Aprilias, I've disconnected the flapper valve, exhaust flapper, to make it a bit smoother at slow speed. So now I'm doing 30 miles an hour, third gear, and that's very, very smooth. So what I did is I had the race map installed because I'd heard that that made things even smoother, but it didn't. Took it out for a ride last week, and for the first time I actually hated riding this bike. The fuel injection mapping isn't the best in the world as it is anyway, but with this race map on, the take up on the throttle was just so nasty and aggressive. And of course, you know, race mode is supposed to be for the track, but I also understood it made things a little bit richer and, you know, made the fuel flow a little bit smoother. But for me, it just didn't feel right at all. So today I took it back and I had the standard map put back on. And this is back to how I expected it to be. A lot sweeter. This brings me to my next point. Do bikes like this have any real place on public roads anymore? You've got 160 horsepower, 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, and a top speed of about 165. Also, you've got rock solid suspension, which edges towards these bikes just being for the track. So when you're in traffic or when you're on bumpy roads or you're in built up areas, do bikes like this have any place on public roads anymore? I mean, they're great fun to ride, but let's just mention some of these things on the roads that you're going to come up against. Heavy traffic, speed limits, speed cameras, potholes, manhole covers, police, animals, kids running out on you, vans coming around on the wrong side of the road. That wasn't his fault, it was a narrow road. But this is my argument, it's just unnecessary. I mean, this thing does sound good though, give it that. But surely you'd be much better off with a bike of only probably 80-90 horsepower that's more usable. This does feel a lot better than it did last week though, I'll give it that. So tell me honestly, if you've got your Fireblade or your R1 or your RSV or your ZX10, do you really get the fun out of your bike? Look at this, for example, all the gravel and stuff on this road. Do you really get the fun out of your bike that you should do on a public road, honestly? Or are a lot of you taken to doing things like track days? You see, I'm getting the thrill out of riding this at the moment, but I'm also thinking, God, there's something coming the other way, or you know, there's going to be a dead animal on the road, or around the corner there's going to be a parked car, or you know, I'm forever thinking that there's just going to be trouble. But out on the road on track days and things, it's just a lot sweeter. I know I'm being really negative here, but bear in mind I've been riding on roads for 30 years. Things have just become so much more congested, and can you really have fun on your bike out on these sort of roads now? I'm not being ungrateful, I love these bikes. This particular one is fantastic, and I'm so glad I've got the map back to how it was now, because this is just a pleasure, an absolute pleasure. But I'm on a 160 horsepower bike doing 36 miles per hour on an open country road, stuck behind a Nissan Micra. Is this the way it should be? You tell me. So feel free to comment, and don't just bother clicking dislike because you disagree with me. Actually make a comment. Actually tell me what your views are on this. You know, rather than just clicking the button, speak. Tell me what you think. Should these bikes be tuned to be more usable on public roads? Do you really need 160 horsepower?